Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to be diving into the world of serverless computing and Azure Functions. Let's start with serverless. What exactly is serverless computing? Serverless computing is a cloud computing model where you can run your code without worrying about server management. With serverless computing, it's all about focusing on your application's logic and not the underlying infrastructure. So what are the benefits of going serverless? Why should you consider serverless computing? First is cost efficiency. Cost efficiency means that you only pay for what you use. In serverless computing, you are billed for the computing resources like the CPU, the memory that you consume, and so on. If your code runs a little, you pay a little. If it runs a lot, then you pay a little more. That way, you are not stuck paying for the whole server when you only need a small part of it. Next is scalability. In technology, scalability generally means that your system can easily handle more work when there's a lot to do. That is, you are able to stretch your resources to meet the demand. For example, if you have a website and your website suddenly gets a lot of visitors, a scalable system can handle all of them without stress. And we have reduced management. Reduced management in this sense means that there's no need to manage servers. It's like having a robot to do all the hard work for you. In this context again, it means that you don't have to do all the complicated tasks of taking care of servers. You don't have to worry about fixing them, updating them, or keeping them running smoothly. All of those are taken care of behind the scenes for you so that you can focus more on what you want to do. Now, let's talk about Azure Functions. What are they? Azure Functions is a Microsoft serverless compute service that allows you to run code on demand. It tells your computer what to do when you press certain buttons or keys on your computer. So instead of doing tasks manually, like sending email or processing data, you can just press a key on your computer and Azure Functions takes care of it for you. Let's take a look at some of the core features of Azure Functions. First, Azure Functions is event-driven. This means that Azure Functions doesn't do anything until it hears specific signal or event. That is, certain events need to happen for Azure Functions to be triggered. Two, it supports multiple languages. This means that when you're using Azure Functions, you have the flexibility to write your code in different programming languages. In other words, you're not limited to just one specific language with Azure Functions. Azure Functions give you a toolbox of programming languages such as C#, Python, JavaScript, and a lot more to choose from. And thirdly, it integrates seamlessly with other Azure services. This means that Azure Functions can easily work together and share information with other services and resources provided by Azure. For example, if you have an Azure function that needs to store data, it can seamlessly connect to Azure Storage without a lot of complex setup or configuration. Let's wrap up with a quick demo of how to create an Azure function. I'm in my portal now, and what I want to do is to create a new Azure Function app. So from the Azure portal here, I'm going to click on All Resources. I'll click on Create. From here, I'm going to search for Function App. And let's create a Function App. I'll click on Create. I'll click on Create. And here in the Basic tab, I'll provide all the required information such as my subscription name. I'm going to select the resource group and give our function app a name. How about I call this Kazim function. The runtime stack, I'm going with Node.js here. And for hosting, I'll go with the consumption plan. For this example, that's all the information that I need to provide. So I'm going to click on Review plus Create. I'll click on Create. Our function has been created, so I'll click on Go to Resource. So what I want to do now is create a function under this function app. So I'll do that from here. Under Functions here, I'll click on Create in Azure Portal. Next, we need to choose a trigger for this function. Let's go with HTTP trigger. So I'll select HTTP trigger and click on Create. This will allow you to trigger your function via an HTTP request. Next, let's write a simple function code. And to do that, we're going to click on Code plus Test to get us to the code editor. So here you're going to see a pre-generated function with sample code, just like you can see here. So feel free to modify this code to fit your requirement. What you need to do is to write the code that should execute when the function is triggered via an HTTP request. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this code with my simple code here. We can save our code. After saving our code, we can use this button here, this test run button, to test your function locally. So let's give that a click. We'll click on Run. And sure enough, we're able to receive a response based on the code that we've written in our function, which is hello from Azure Functions. Alternatively, you can also test this function by calling it via an HTTP request. And to do this, you will need the function URL, which we can find here. So let me close out over here. Click on Overview. Click on Get Function URL. I'll copy the URL, open a new tab, and paste it here. And as you can see, we've been able to make an HTTP post request to the function URL, and we've received a response back from our function. You can build more complex functions to perform various tasks based on your specific requirement. That wraps up our introduction to serverless computing and Azure Functions. You've learned the basics, explored the benefits, and you've seen a quick demo of how to set up and create an Azure function. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.